whenever you're ready, you know.
Just read it?
Yeah, start reading it.
Okay. After pondering over the different readings we were assigned, and after watching the movie Zen, I believe that Taoism and Confucianism are the views of life that are more closely related to mine. On the other hand, I believe that Buddhism is the view of life that is the furthest from my beliefs. I am not religious and have no political preferences or awareness, therefore this question was a little difficult for me to discern. I believe that the view of life in terms of Confucianism focused mainly on human morality. In Confucius Analects, the reading mainly discussed being filial, obtaining humaneness, and being open-minded. I agree that it is important to respect your elders and to carry on their legacy, but in breaking from the family bond, one is able to venture out into the world and discover themselves. I also agree that it is imperative to obtain parental guidance and teachings because through the parent, the child learns how to behave, think, and react to events life throws at them. Open-mindedness is also important because it brings in new information and helps to spread awareness. In terms of Taoism, I feel like it focuses on a broader view of life and leaves a lot up to interpretation. Compassion, nature, and moderation were the aspects of Taoism which I found more closely matched my views of life. In the reading Lao Tzu, Tao Te Ching, I agree that one must look deeper into things rather than just focusing on the outer shell. Sometimes looking deeper into things reveals things one does not want to know, but is the only way to see its true state. I also agree that things cannot exist without its opposite. For example, good cannot exist without bad. If bad does not exist, then how would one know the difference between the two? The chapter called Useful Emptiness was the one that I found most enlightening. I agree that in some cases, giving people hope and something to believe in is something which keeps people going. In terms of heaven and hell, people believe that they must strive to be on God's good side, and in order to send their soul to heaven and not fall to rot in hell. This inanimate and unknowing existence aids in making people more humane and true to themselves. On the contrary, Buddhism is the view of life that least matches mine. I disagree with the fact that it focuses on forgetting oneself in order to be one with the universe and enlightenment. If I wanted to be more free, I would smoke marijuana, which has a similar effect on the mind. I believe that a person should always know who they are, what they've accomplished, and what they have done wrong. In knowing this information, one is able to progress in life and learn from it. Being open-minded, like with Confucianism, helps a person to be more enlightened. I also do not like how meditation is incorporated into the life as if it is the only way to clear the mind. If that is the case, then what are the people who do not have time to meditate do? I think that there are also better things to do than to just spend most of the day meditating. I also disagree with the concept of desires and attachments being considered obstacles to the path of being permanently happy. In my opinion, desires are important because it gives people something to strive for. Suffering is also important because without suffering there can be no compassion, and like in Taoism, one cannot exist without the other. I follow the views of life which focus more on the broader morals and are less monitored. I feel that Taoism and Confucianism are compatible together and both leave room for the unknown and opinion. I believe that leaving things up to interpretation helps to release people's true thoughts, feelings, and nature.
Excuse me. Oh, man. Well, my first question is, as you look over and read over the paper that you wrote, like over a month ago, more than a month ago, has your perceptions about these topics changed, or have you have different views about your writing? How does it feel to read, yourself now?
I believe my ideas about it are still set. When I look at something, I tend to look at the broader view of it versus like the little points, like the specific facts.
Mm-hmm.
And after going over the stuff we've been going over recently of the book of the Dalai Lama with Buddhism, I feel like my broader views are a little more intact than just focusing on, other things, because I don't believe in religion, so it's a little harder for me to put my opinion in it.
Mm-hmm.
But reading through it, I feel comfortable with what I put.
Mm-hmm. What's the process of writing this essay, or is it unanimous, or same? Do you approach writing papers in the same way? Do you do an outline? Do you do a rough draft?
Well, it depends on the topic. For instance, creative writing, I tend to make spider diagrams, as I used to call them. Or I tend to not write my paper until last minute, because I'd spend the rest of the time actually thinking about the topic. For this class, that's what I feel like I need to do, because it feels like it takes more thought than to just write it out as you go.
So you kind of think about it when you're not in front of a computer or in front of a notebook. Is that what you're saying, or?
No, I tend to just write my paper like the night before, because it seems like when you assign these papers, there's a lot more that goes into it than just what we had learned. For instance, we might see another movie that might have to do with the exact same topic, or Asian studies in general that has to do with the topic.
So it's better for you to just write it directly?
Write it when I feel like I have enough information to.
I see. And when you said like you were thinking about this, like sometimes you think about a paper topic and just wait until you're ready for it. When do you do the thinking? Do you do it during work, or do you do it when you like take a walk, or what's the time that's most conducive for your thinking about writing?
Probably when I walk, especially to classes. I end up listening to my iPod and just kind of blanking out everything else around me. Or when I sit at my computer and decide to write a paper, I can't focus on anything else. Everything has to be silent. All I do is, that's the one topic that I'm focusing on.
And then what's the next step? Like after you do this and you start to write, let's say the night before, and you finish your essay or whatever writing that you're doing, do you look it over? Do you revise it? Do you have somebody else look at it?
I do sometimes. I know my grammar isn't the best, even after taking English 111, 112. I feel like my grammar's not the best, but I tend to not read over my papers. I know that's supposedly bad, but I feel like what I thought of first writing it was what I meant. Versus going over it, I might second guess myself, or I might edit it and it might sound totally different than what I meant.
You're kind of similar to Jack Kerouac. You know that author, the guy who did On the Road? He used to write, his most famous novel was called On the Road, and he used to type on this teletype paper. Put on the road, this is this is before computers, so typewriter. And I forgot what kind of drug he was taking, but he'd take some drugs and just type nonstop, no corrections, first thought, the best thought. It's almost like Zen attitude he had.
Yeah. Especially with creative writing, I tend to just write, and when I'm done, I'm done. I'm more experienced with creative writing than other writing.
Well, tell me more about that. Those spider, what is it?
Spidergrams?
Yeah.
It's more just, I have a topic in my head, that's what's in the middle, and then branching off is whatever else I feel needs to be subtopics, and then other topics after that. It just tends to be like, oh, this is like Venn diagram sort of a thing.
Venn diagrams?
They're diagrams where you have two different topics, two circles, and inside that similarities. So I'm just kind of analyzing what I'm going to be writing about.
But didn't you say that spidergrams use more often for creative writing?
Creative writing.
So how does that work? Do you, when you say there's a topic, is that a character, or that you're developing a plot?
Well, for instance, I'll have whatever Confucianism in the middle, and then whatever comes to my mind of when Confucianism, how I feel about that, that'll branch off into its own topic, and then from those subtopics, I'll branch off into whatever I feel about that.
Okay. And how do you transition from the spidergrams, or these different types of diagrams, to actual writing? Do you just simply, does that just help you to organize your thoughts, or is there another stage between that and the writing itself?
It does do that, but then it also helps me to go over, well, what other important facts can I bring into that from looking over the book, or looking over the notes that I've written, PowerPoints, etc. Like for this oral presentation, which I still have to do, I've been looking over what people have said and adding that to my diagrams. What I didn't bring, I wasn't sure if I needed it. But So I have those, and I've been putting together what everyone else has been saying, and I'm trying to figure out, well, I don't want to reiterate what they've said, or I want to add different things that I have read into the conversation, so I'm not just repeating what everyone else said to everyone.
And that's kind of similar to how you work with writing as well?